Hi, this is the game reaction for the Southampton Manchester United game. It ended a couple of hours ago. I just finished up watching another game in Premier League. Here's my takeaway from the game. I have to say that I had an expectation when coming into the game that we were going to win. I didn't feel we were going to win in a massive way like we did last time. I never expected us to win on the away from home. More than maybe 2-1, 3-1, something like that. Maybe something like similar to last year's away win. But I have to say that the first 5 minutes of the game really showed me and gave me an indication of where this game was going. Because the first 5 minutes were very symptomatic for the rest of the game. Yes, the game went in spurts and and had its moments here and there. But overall, the first 5 minutes was very tone setting for the rest of the game. I have to say that 1-1 is better than a loss, but I say we had chances to win the game. We had 2 or 3 really good ones. And so we could have come away with 2-1 or 3-1. It could have easily been 2-2 or 3-2 to us, something like that, because Southampton was on the move a couple of times and had a couple of good chances themselves. But I feel that we could have won the game if we had been a little bit more decisive and a little bit more aggressive. I think when I look back at the game, I think we got way too passive on things. The passing was off, the accuracy in passing was off, the aggressiveness that we had in the Leeds game was not there. It was only there in a few players, but a lot of players were just limping around. And I have to say that one of the players that kind of let me down today was Bruno Fernandes. I feel that this was one of those games that he has every now and then, where he's all about moaning and complaining and shouting at the judges, and he has a game like that every now and then. And today he had one of those. Bruno Fernandes did not play well. He wasn't the worst on the field, let me tell you. There was a couple of more players that was really bad. So we're going to get back to that. Like I said, the accuracy in the passing was way off, especially in the back four. And the midfield, further up in the attack, the passing was better because it was Bruno and Pogba and Greenwood. So it was a little bit better up there. But back in the back four, my lord, was that a shaky foursome today. I mean, Luke Shaw even played, yeah, he wasn't great today. He wasn't good today. He wasn't his normal himself. Wan-Bissaka was having a normal day. He's okay on the defensive part, but offers almost nothing going over the midfield. Lindelof, to me, was probably the second worst player on the team today and on the field today. He is weak. He has a good game. Here's the thing with Lindelof. He can have a massive game every now and then, like he had a few times last year, and he had a good game last week. But for the most part, overall, in general, he's a very poor player. He's a weak player. Well, especially when it comes like in situations like 1-to-1, man-to-man, body-to-body, and being strong on the ball. He is not that type. He's very weak. His positioning today was kind of weird. His passing in the back, when he passed diagonal passes, he passed them so inaccurately that Harry Maguire and Matic sometimes had to stop up, take a couple of steps back, or do a flip and do a half circle to come back, or and some of them were intercepted by Southampton players. And tell you, Maguire did the same thing. Maguire was the fault for one of the balls that got snapped up, and thank God for David De Gea saving that, because it was like, I'm tell you, the back four today was really, really freaking bad, and Lindelof was the worst. Another player on the field today, and if you think the back four was bad, It was not as bad as the freaking midfield. The midfield today sucked. And I don't know how. I mean, I've always been a supporter of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I probably will be, but there is games where I start to wonder what the fuck he's thinking. I'm sorry about the word, but sometimes I wonder what Solskjaer is thinking. How can he pick Fred, Matic on the midfield when you know you have a weak link in the back four, and you pick Fred and Matic over Donny van de Beek, McTominay? If McTominay was fit to play 20-25 minutes, he was going to be fit to play the whole game. So how can you put Fred and Matic over Donny van de Beek and McTominay? It shouldn't have been done. It should not have been done. And how can you pick Lindelof over Varane? I'm going to come back to this. So the midfield was the only one in the midfield today who really worked his butt off and did a great job was Paul Pogba. And I think Paul Pogba with Greenwood was the two best players we had on the field today. And I want to give man of the match to Paul Pogba because I think he was the most creative player we had. He's the one who created the chances that we had, and he had an assist for the goal. So I think that Paul Pogba was the best player on the field. Now, in the attack part of the team, the front part of the team, I have to say that I was baffled. I was really freaking baffled that he had put Martial or Marshall or whatever you want to call him in the team today. I understand him taking James out of the team, but putting Martial in there, Martial haven't played good. We exclude the time he's been hurt. But for the last 2.5 years, the games he's been playing in that period of time, he has not been very good. It's not that he's not even very good, but his attitude on the field screams. When you look at the TV screens, when they focus up on his face, his body language, and his performance, it screams that I'm not happy, I don't want to be here, I'm only here because I get paid. That's the kind of vibe I get from him. He's a very lacking attitude. His attitude lacks passion. It's almost like he doesn't want to be on the field. He looks so out of place. He looks so bad. He doesn't want to do it shows that he doesn't want to do the work. He does the ones that he has to do, but if there's anything extraordinary, he doesn't want to do it. His movement up on top is terrible. It's terrible. Not even close to what Greenwood is doing. Not even close to what Cavani is doing, and Rashford, and even Elanga when he's healthy. You know, there's other players in this team and in this club that plays on top that has great movement, great route running. Martial is just very, very bad. And I feel that there was like 4 players today that dragged this whole team down. And if those 4 players hadn't been on the field, we would have had a different result. I'm pretty sure of it. The 4 players that was on the field that shouldn't have been on the field is Lindelof. He was the worst one. Fred is a good second. He was just as bad as Lindelof. And Matic was terrible today. He had a good passes here and there and had a few rushes forward, but nothing like I can say I had a good game. And then you had Martial on top. Those 4 players should not have been on the field today. I don't know why Solskjaer picked those 4 today. And that was his downfall. So, I'm sorry, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. As much as I like you as a coach in Man U and in Molde as a fellow Norwegian, today you screwed it up today. The players lacked enthusiasm. They didn't have the attitude but that comes because you picked the wrong team. The players that had the real enthusiasm and the real attitude today had a good one, they saw, why do we have to drag along these 4 buffoons? They don't do the work. They're just running around here without any meaning. They're terrible. Why do we have to carry this sack of bad players around? Those 4 players was dragging the whole team spirit down, and that's why we didn't play good today. You could see it. Because you could see it the moment, and this explains it. The moment McTominay, the moment Sancho came on first, and then McTominay later on, the moment those 2 players came on, you could see that there was a little change, but it was too late. It was too late. The damage was already done. The players was already in the mud, and they couldn't drag themselves out of it because they mentally had been going around for a full 45 plus another 10, dragging around these buffoons that didn't want to do the work. And I call them buffoons because they were running around like headless chickens. So when the exchanges and the substitutes was done, it was too late. It was too late. Matic was taken off the last, I think it was, and he should have been taken off way before. And the same with Fred. The changes. I'm saying something I shouldn't have said. Because of the team that was picked, the changes should have been done at halftime. But the thing is that these 4 players shouldn't have been on the field at all. At all. He should have started with Sancho. He should have started with McTominay. He should have started with Donny van de Beek. And it is almost, and he should have started with Varane. So it's almost like, is it like I don't know what it is. Why he has, and this is what baffles me. He's been doing it to Donny van de Beek for over a year. They spent $40 or $45 million on Donny van de Beek. He barely starts any games. He barely gets any playing time as a substitute. And he's clearly better than both Fred, McTominay, Matic, Mata, you name it. Donny van de Beek should be in the midfield with Pogba. And then they should have McTominay, because right now that's the best they have. But they should have gotten a CDM, but they haven't. But right now, the way it is, they should use McTominay instead of Fred, instead of Matic. Just because I think that McTominay has a little bit more drive in him. He wants more. So, I understand that Cavani maybe is a week or 2 out, but get Cavani in the team as fast as possible, because Martial has nothing to do on this team, not even on the bench. I mean, get him sold. Cut your losses, sell him for $10 million, $20 million, something like that. Or just get him going. I mean, the same with Matic, get him going. If Roma wants him, sell him for $5-10 million. If Mourinho wants him, chip him off. Fred, he should not really be here after this season. He shouldn't have been in this season either. He should have been just gone. But I feel that this was an opportunity that we let it go from us. And it started with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer making the team selection that he did. But of course, it's up to the players that goes on the field to grab the moment and make the best out of it, and make the absolute best out of it. Which means that you go out there to win. You go out there with a mentality to win. Just because 1 or 2 or 3, 4 players are lacking and sagging behind, doesn't mean the other 8 or 9 or whatever it is, including the substitutes, have to drag this mentality around that, we can't do better because we have 3 or 4 that doesn't do their job. Then it's very important that the other one steps up 2 more steps and really grab a hold of the game and do something, which I didn't see today, because Bruno was very, very in big moments. In big parts of the game, he was very anonymous. You barely see him. He was running out on the sides, out on the flanks, dinking and doodling, and wasn't very creative. He had a couple of free kicks, but none of them got into any danger territory at all. So I feel that because of his lack of creativity today, the Man United, as we saw last week, kind of suffered. The only one, like I said, the only one that really put his soul and energy and sweat and tear and blood into it was Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba did everything he did everything people expected him to do, and he can't do this by himself. He needs other people around him to step up and do the same. And I feel that the only other person who did it was Greenwood. The two best players today was Greenwood and Paul Pogba by far. But I have to say that we saw a huge difference though. We did, but like I said, it was too late. It was way too late. Sancho should have started the game today, and we would have probably won the game 2-1 or 3-1 if Sancho had full game playing. We saw it, and when Sancho came on, that things started to change especially in the areas where he was running and positioning himself. But he should have been on way early. He should have been on he should have started the game. And McTominay should have started over either Fred or Matic, probably over Matic, because Matic is just freaking too slow these days. It's almost like the game is running in normal speed, and he's doing things in slow motion. If you look at it, if you look at the game on TV, maybe it's easier to see it on TV than seeing it from the sideline. But if you see it on TV, Matic is doing everything in slow motion, and the players around him is doing it in double speed. You see it, he receives the ball, couple of touches, turns around, and boom, there's a defender there, or there's a midfielder there, or there's an attacker or something right there in him, and he gets freaked out. He has to do a terrible pass, which we saw today, or he straight up loses the ball. And we saw that today. We saw it. Matic is too old for Premier League. He might fit better in the Serie A, because the game is not as physical and not as fast, and the tempo is slower. But in Premier League, Matic is a dud. He's out on date. His best 4 date was like 2 years ago. So I just hope that if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer respects his fans, respects the club, and respects the team, he will do what is right. And what is right is, next game against the Wolves, he has to start Sancho, he has to start Varane, and he has to start Donny van de Beek. No buts, if, or anything like that. If he doesn't start those three, then we know that he's not up for the task of running a title challenge this year. He's then up for, what he's up for then is creating a best possible result behind the first one or the second team. Because trust me, if he plays like this for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 games and the rest of the season, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester City is going to be ahead of Manchester United when the Premier League is settling in next May. He has to just grab this, because you don't buy a $75 million player to put him on the bench behind Daniel James or Martial. That is, if you want to kill your career as a coach and as a manager, that's what you do. You don't want to put a $45 million or pound super class player like Varane on the bench behind Victor Lindelof. Again, if you want to kill your career as a coach or a manager, that's what you will be doing if you do. You can get away with it with Donny van de Beek probably, but for how long? But if you put players like Sancho and Varane on the bench, that has a combined purchase price of 110, 115 million pounds, and you put them on the bench and you start playing draws and playing badly games and you barely win a few here and there. Would Pep Guardiola do it? No. Would Klopp do it? No. Would Tuchel do it? No. So it's all about utilizing what you have, and utilizing what you have gotten the best way possible. And today was not a game that they did that. So that was my thought about it. We were lucky to get a draw, but we could have gotten a win, but we could have also lost. This was a game with 3 possible outcomes. All games have 3 possible outcomes before you start the game. But after game, you can say that this was a game we for sure was going to win, like last week. Or this game here was a possible 2-way outcome. Either you draw or you lose. Or you could have probably won too, but nah. We should have won, but could the team today do it? No, they're not up for the task. So we have to go to Wolves next time, another away game, and let's hope we have another team on the field. Let's hope Danny Van de Beek starts, let's hope Varane start, and let's hope that Chance will start. I don't want to see Fred in the team, I don't want to see Lindelof in the team, and I for sure don't want to see Daniel James or Martial in the team. So until next video and next time, guys, take care.